Hey, what's up, guys? Ryan from Game Explorer, and we did another Dungeons and Dragons session last night. We had a barbarian, a wizard, and a rogue, and their main goal was to stop the High Chancellor, which was like the dictator of the land. Their main goal was to stop him after he had overthrown the previous government, and they were all ex-legionnaires. So they get to the first town and meet a group of previous legionnaires, and because they saw a thief perched on the rooftop, and so they decided to go in the building when he jumped in to see what he was doing, and they ended up interfering with the Golden Arrow, which is like a big spice dealing company, and the Steelsmiths, which was a family of blacksmiths, or the stonesmiths, I can't remember. And so then they were wanted by, and they started out at a farm because they were ex-legionnaires, and the farmer, they had given the farmer some money for letting them stay there, and then they were found by the soldiers, and they were attacked, and the farmer got shot with an arrow, and then they barely made it out, and so they got to the next town, and they met a ally, which was a previous legionary commander, and, and so for the next little bit of the game, they were working through stuff to sabotage, like when the golden arrow got a shipment of spice in, then they put a different type of poison, I guess it would be. I can't remember what any of it was, and I was the dungeon master. They put the poison inside the spice, and so when the commander of the soldiers tried the spice, she died, and then that's what they cut off ties with the Golden Arrow for. And then to cut off the ties with the stonesmiths, what they did was the shipment of weapons they had put acid on. So when they tested them on their soldiers, the swords were meant to, because they supplied them with armor, and the armor was supposedly supposed to block stuff. And so when they tested a sword, it ate through the metal and killed the commander, so that cut off ties with them there. And then they were getting ready for the previous battle, and they got a bunch of allies for it when they went to a town that was overrun by the Golden Arrow men, overrun by mercenaries pretty much. And so they had killed the mercenaries, and the mercenaries had the town overrun because they were trying to sabotage the soldiers. And so they killed the mercenaries and got to where the soldiers were, and they had killed the soldiers, and then they found a key, and they didn't find a key, they found a locked door, and they used one of the keys they had previously gotten, and it opened the door, and it released a bunch of wolves that went and killed off all of the mercenaries. And then one wolf had survived, and they had nursed it back to health and brought it with them. And then and then when they went to a gambling town like right before that, where everyone was always dealing like spice, and there's a huge casino everyone went to, and there they had found the farmer that helped them, and he agreed to go with them. And then the next town, okay, so it was 2 towns before that, sorry. The next town they get to, they they're supposed to meet their ally there. She at that town in the church, because she was a priestess disguised as a priestess. God, and they go to meet her there, and she's not there, and so they use the item, I guess. They use an item they got earlier called the Scroll of Insight, where once a day they can open it and they can use it to see through someone else's eyes. And so they do that to see through a soldier's eyes, or her eyes, and they find her inside a warehouse, and she's bound in ropes, and then she's got a gag in her mouth. And so they go there, and they kill them off, and then because they'd left their other group at the carriage, and so they killed off the soldiers. And they get there, and when they get there, they read a note on the commander that says the farmer and they find out the farmer had double crossed them. And so they go and they kill the farmer and take the gold he had, and then they go on to the next town, which is the final town. It's the final town before the boss, and they get to the final town where they find the High Chancellor, and so they go up to his building, and they have a huge battle. There's the mercenaries fighting on one side, they're fighting on another, and then the soldiers are fighting with the High Chancellor against the mercenaries and the legionnaires. And they get inside the temple, or the warehouse, I guess it would be, and they get to the final. They get to the High Chancellor, and he's got a bodyguard, and they talk the bodyguard into moving, and then as soon as she moves, the High Chancellor uses a spell and kills her. And so they engage in battle with the High Chancellor. The wizard casts shock spells and lasts for a good while, and then the High Chancellor uses a ward spell and then sends a shock spell right back at him, and it knocks him down the stairs. And then the rogue and the barbarian decide to charge at the same time, and the rogue's a halfling, and so the High Chancellor sees the barbarian but doesn't see the rogue, and she managed to jump up and stab him, and then that enrages him, and he throws her to the wall, and then that gave the barbarian enough time to kill him. But then, a few minutes later, a feeble old man came out up the stairs and says that he was the real High Chancellor, and they can do whatever they must with him. And so the party decided to put him in prison. And then they each got a reward. Each got a trunk of gold. The rewards were... I can't remember exactly all of it. I remember the barbarian got his own plot of land. Crap, that's all I can really remember. Well, that's going to do it for this video. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next Dungeons & Dragons podcast. Bye, guys.